All right. Good evening, everybody. I hope that intro is still jazzing you up. It still kind of gets me fired up. I figured it worked if it was fired me up. Hey, apparently I was checking the comments. Might have a controversy here. I see Highlander Gun saying he was in second, and then where did Fred go? So does that mean Fred got in first and his comment disappeared? Or do we just cede the trophy to Highlander tonight? Which can be picked up at the local QT. Just go in and tell them that I owe it to you. Anyway, let's see. So we got Highlander in second. I don't know if that means that then we got the where'd Fred go? Did he truly get in first? We have Matt S. who had to poop. Don't worry, you made it just in time. But you poop quicker than I pee. Congratulations. And then Perpetually Indignant is back with an hello. Going with the English accent tonight, are we, boys? Okay, well, let's get rolling. There's really, I mean, we'll find things, of course, but really not too much to be upset about after a 68-0. Okay, is this doing it again? All right. Minnie says that my audio is sounding tinny again. And let me see if I can change it over, because it was sounding fine until I did John's show Monday, and all of a sudden it was sounding tinny, unless you guys just haven't been telling me for the last 6 months. So hold on. All right, Minnie, come with a comment and tell me if that sounds better. Perpetually Indignant says, in a can sounds much better than in the can. I don't know. There's not too much, too much reverberation there in the bathroom. Let's see. Good. Okay. Minnie says better. So I guess we will. And welcome, Minnie. And I guess we'll go with the iPad microphone, which used to get complaints. You guys just let me know if it sounds funny. I have options here. Brad Wilson is saying, hello from Beatrice. I was a student manager for the real scoring explosion in 1983. That makes you about as old as I am, because I was going to school in 1983, and I'm going to talk about 82 and 83 a little later. Let's see. And Matt said it sounded like my PC if you have a mic, but that's the thing, is it wasn't the PC mic. Maybe I'll just look for a different mic and just look, because this one comes off the camera. So if this sounds okay right now, this is just the iPad mic. So whatever. Yeah, we got better but not great. Or let's see, works fine. Better but yeah. First you went with better but not great. I'll settle for what I can get when it starts off tinny. And Mitty says, "Hey Brad, my man." All right, let's go. Let's get to part one here. People be filing in. That's fine and dandy. Let's see. Get rid of you. Boom. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about is two of the biggest gripes from the Cincinnati game, and do we feel like we kind of fixed those? Well, I guess technically there are three, although I don't think the third was that big a deal. But first of all, people kind of, I don't want to say lost their minds,
But we're really upset about Cincinnati quarterback Brendan Sorsby running for, 96 yards, I believe. They're 202 yards. And I'll say again, the reason it didn't upset me that much is because, first of all, at least half those yards, or probably closer to 2/3, were not set runs. They said we didn't get any pressure on him. Well, we did get pressure on him because he only threw for 69 yards, most of that on the last drive. And B, I'd say well over half of his rushing yards were running away from pressure. Our problem was we couldn't corral him once we put the pressure on him, but we got back there because he scrambled for most of his 96. I don't know. There were a couple of set runs. Like the big run of the night was on that last drive before led to the Hartzog interception at the end. Thank you. And he got the 27-yard scramble. I think that was on like a 4th and long, if memory serves. And so that was the big run of the night, and that was just pressured him. He got away. We couldn't just break down and try to make him move laterally. It was just kind of had to leap at him, and he was very quick and easily marching out of the way. Well, anyway, the 96 yards, tough to swallow. 69 yards passing, and I think a lot of people wrote that off too. Well, he's a running quarterback. He's not a pass. Well, last year he ran for 405 yards, something like that. He passed for over 2,800, about the same as Dylan. So this is a guy that throws, and he threw last week. They played Bowling Green, who I think finished tied for 3rd in the MAC last year, and he only ran for 40, and he threw for 333. My comment last week was I was fine with the 96 yards, not necessarily where a fourth of it came on that last drive, because I would have said, here's a guy that runs and throws, and anytime you can probably hold him under 250 yards a game of total offense, you're going to be, if you can take that before the game, you'll take it. And he finished with 161 total yards, something like that. And if you said 161 yards out of Sorsby before our game, I'm like, don't even need to know what else happens. I will start with that. So then he goes out and gets 373 yards the next week. Now, hopefully Bowling Green's not quite as tough as we are. That's a lot of yards. That's a big game. So we might want to, yes, we have to work on the run defense. Don't get me wrong. And even Butler still says it was better this week, but still a work in progress. But that's a hell of a quarterback there. and I think we did all right against him. I think the season's gonna play that out. Now the next thing was holy crap, we don't have any backup running backs. Like people were making jokes up in the press box about that. Like, I know who our backup running back is. Nobody. And because I think they carried one time apiece, Mosey and Mekhi Nelson. Well, they got their chance this week, and I've actually got a poll going right now. If you just see like the Nebraska React survey, go in there. One of the 2 questions is you got to see the 3 backup running backs. All of them played pretty well. Who would you pick? Like who do you think's doing the best? Right? I don't think I said straight out who's the backup. Answer: there isn't one. Holgerson addressed it today that there's not really a 2, 3, and 4. There's just a rotation of the 3 of them. So that it almost sounds like even if they're not saying it on the depth chart, there's a couple of oars between their 3 names. Well, Mosey actually, as much as he was running the ball, he didn't have any rushes. He had 3 catches for 65 yards and a long of 39. Quentin Ives, who had finally gotten himself in the backup spot and then hurt the hamstring on the first day of fall practice, looks like he's running all right again. He carried, again, for a nice average, 4 times for 34 yards, caught a pass for 7 yards, and his long was a 28-yard touchdown run. And then Mekhi Nelson carried 5 times for 11 yards and 1 TD, and caught 3 passes for 52 yards. One was 41 long. So you got to look at those guys that they all got like extensive action since they started just rotated. The 3 of them just started rotating in when the first team was done, midway through the 3rd quarter. So, go ahead and throw in the comments there. I'll get down to them. If I start getting a little lost bouncing around, don't worry, I'll know what it means. But yeah, I'm kind of curious if anyone was impressed, if we're just happy that we've got, looks like 3 guys with some big playability, and they all showed it. I mean, every one of them busted one, and I get it. it's Akron, but this is what you're supposed to do to Akron. And we haven't been doing this to teams like Akron for, God, I can't remember the last time that we just absolutely trucked like an unmanned team, or, an undermanned team, for lack of a better word. Even UTEP, we were doing it, and then we just went into full, like they started rotating the subs in immediately in the second half, and it just felt like they were pounding the rock into the line. And then 28-0 on Colorado, same thing. Boom, 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 run, and we just kind of don't put the pedal to the metal. And then again with Northern Iowa, and that was the game. That was our we can't stop the run game last year, if you remember, because they kept just getting these like 15 play, 60, 50-yard drives, like 3.5, 4 yards a play all the way down. And then we'd stuff them in our territory. And they ended up with like a 40-20 possession time advantage in that game. And everybody's like, we're going to get run over. And it worked out. And I kind of think it's going to happen this year. That seems to be the thing, is not stopping the run game. And that kind of goes back to Sorsby too. I was going to make it its own thing, but let's just, drag Sorsby into that, since he was most of Cincinnati's running, and that these guys popped a few runs, but it was still a case of, oops, we gave up some like gash 7, 8, 10 carries, a few of those over the course of the evening. And Michigan's going to roll right over us. And I won't lie, Justice Haynes looks like the real deal at running back. Tell you what, he looks a hell of a lot better than their hyped up quarterback right now. Underwood may end up being fine, but I said to some of these Michigan fans, it's like, look, if your offense was junk last year, much like ours was junk in 23, and they think a freshman quarterback's going to come right the ship and make them a 40-point team or something right out of the gate, I'm like, well, we've got a little experience too. And I'm thinking, if your offense was that bad, it wasn't just because you didn't have a quarterback, a good quarterback. You probably need help at a lot of positions. Recruiting wise, I think they got a lot of help. I think Haynes was a transfer, and I think he's better than Underwood, the freshman quarterback right now. I mean, this guy was doing something that Dylan never did, and I can't ever picture him doing, is he was starting scrapes with his teammates on the sideline. Like I saw one where he went running over, screaming at a guy, and they were kind of having to be separated. And I can't really think of that. Probably the second game of your Michigan career isn't quite the time to be trying to make that leadership flex. Tell me what you think of that. But yeah, Michigan struggled to pull away late. I mean, they were never losing, but it was a one-score game until they pulled away late to win by 17. And that kind of looked like what we used to do against garbage teams. Hey, we ended up winning by 17 or 20 or whatever. But it didn't look that great, and it didn't inspire you to think, well, it's going to explode against the good teams. And then they just kind of had not much offense at all against who was it that just beat them? Oklahoma. And hey, my pick was right for once. I said I think John Mateer is not going to throw for 400 yards, but he'll do enough to outscore Michigan, because I don't believe their offense has come around yet. So I'm not sitting here trying to say, oh, we're going to crush Michigan. But I've got a big problem with people going, because we gave up some gash runs to Cincinnati and Akron, that were suddenly, oh no, but Michigan's just going to run for 400 yards on us, and all is forever lost. Let's get John on here for a true like there is no hope, fuck everything, go Big Red rant. But anyway, that then the last thing I wanted to, I guess, bring in a little bit was that last week, it's like, Raiola completed like 32 of 42 or whatever, 33 of 42. So around 77%, which is where he was today and where he is now in fifth nationally after 2 games, but fifth nationally completion percentage. But his because we were dinking and dunking while they played their cover 3 in Arrowhead, then his yards per attempt ended up around 5.7 or 5.8. Not great. But when you're completing that many and moving the chains, he did what Holgerson told him to do, and kind of admitted it in the press conference last Tuesday, where somebody asked him, "Is it tough just having to throw short passes all game?" And he's like, "Does that take some patience?" And he's like, "I won't lie, I don't like it." So he wants to make those deeper throws too. But as he said, he goes, "But the thing was, we're not trying to get me stats. We're trying to win a game. We won the game. So he goes, I'm fine with it. He goes, would I like to throw deeper? Yeah, but that's always going to take a backseat to the final score. So there you go with that. I believe his yards per attempt after 24 or 31 for 364 yards and 2.5 quarters put him at near 12. I think it was something like 11.7 yards per attempt. So don't sweat it, man. The kid can throw deep. So that's where we are right now. Let's go see. I see the comments are starting to pour in, and so let's see what everybody has to say about what I was babbling about. Many asked, what did I think of the new field look? You know what? And I've got the old field look as my background. So I've got Saturday would have been a wonderful game to get a picture of the new field at night and get that on the background. I've got a nice angle, as you can see, to get a shot of the field. So I'll try and get the new field on there. I like it. I kind of like the all red end zones. It grew on me as the game went on, and also how they paint the end zone is never going to be the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. So when I talk about it growing on me, it's not like I'm upset, but then happier. I was just like, yeah, I kind of like it. I would, did we ever go with like white with the red on it? Because I always thought a scarlet and cream end zone would be pretty cool. What they got the white or they've got the white on red right now, and I think the white the red on white would pop, but that's just me. I like it. I like it better because I like it. I like the entire end zone painted up, not just like the green over whatever logo. So yeah, I liked it. There you go. There's a nice long start to how I feel about the color of the end zone turf. So that might be 3.5, 4 minutes you'll never get back. And for that, humble apologies, dear listeners, watchers, etc. Maybe it's through Husker fan. I've heard this. The coaches kind of talked about this a little. Maybe it's through Husker fan glasses, but I think Cincinnati will be better in Big 12 play than some think. I absolutely think they will. They play hard. That was the one thing. I mean, they were. Let's put it this way: they were trash talking right out of the gate. They were not intimidated by Memorial Stadium or the Huskers at all, and they played that way for 4 quarters. And maybe if we lose that game, I'm insulting them and calling them classless trash and whatnot. But I hope I wouldn't be, because they did. They played their hearts out, and their coach gave them kind of a let's make them beat us down the field instead of just giving up big chunks of yards on explosive plays. And then, well, one thing is they had a guy like Dante Corleone, who if he's on your defensive line, then hey, play that cover 3, make them get a bunch of like 5 to 9 yard gains. Because one of the things about, we always loved like the 15-16 ram it down their throat drives that the Huskers used to run. And somebody pointed out, it's like, if you can pull it off, great. If you can do that, it's not a reason not to ever do it. But they say statistically, over time, the longer you hold it, the more likely you are to turn it over as score. That usually kind of evens itself out. So if you're scoring, if you can get some quick strike stuff, even though you're maybe doing riskier plays, the fact that you're running fewer of them is actually slightly lowering your chances of turnovers. So just something to think about. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, looks like Brad Wilson and Minnie will be at the Michigan game. Can't wait. They're making you can go to the comments if you want to see their drinking plans. Let's see, and then Brad, Minnie, Brad, Minnie, Brad. There you go. Pitt snipes in, throwing a hug at Minnie. Let's see. Yeah, then Minnie got back into the show. Underwood starting fights. I mean, I don't remember seeing punches thrown, but it was on the verge of physical if there weren't people in between. It wasn't a good look. I think I tweeted out on the on coordination Twitter something like I reposted that video and said, well, that would just be a shame if Michigan is having divisiveness problems coming into our game. That would be so sad. Yeah, screw you, Michigan. Let's see. Oh, and Pitt says Sue was on Bussin' with the Boys today. I bet that would have been a good watch. He's a fun guest. I like watching him interviewed because he's got one of those personalities that plays against the personality on the football field. That seems like the type of guy. I remember that Dan Patrick could always get Marshall Falk upset really easily. He'd get him on, he'd say something, Marshall would get super pissed and end up angry, but then he'd be on again a couple weeks later, like all's forgiven, and then he'd be mad again in about 10-15 minutes. But yeah, I've never seen Sue really. If you've seen differently, tell me. But I've never really seen Sue get upset in an interview. It's like he leaves all that aggression on the field. One of the funniest, and I have a feeling a lot of you probably caught this interview. It was when Tom Brady was being interviewed after a couple years with the Bucs, and he said just the best thing about being with Tampa Bay was that thank God this guy is on my team now. I don't have to run for my life, because he said he's one of those guys, and Pat Mahomes has admitted to this too, trying to joke around with the defense a little. If they don't wipe him out, if it's a near sideline thing, he's like, "Hey man, thanks for not killing me." And so one time, like Sue comes in, gets I guess didn't wipe him out, but Brady got it away. Sue gave him a bump, and he went up and smacked Sue in the ass, say, "Hey man, don't be running around like that in my backfield, joking around." And said Sue turned around, just looking, and goes, "I ain't your fucking friend." And Brady was like, "Jesus Christ," and said, he said when he got there, it was just like, "Thank God, on my team now. I don't have to worry about this guy." So yeah, that was the thing. Is like Sue, a defensive tackle in the NFL, it's pretty tough to, be among the tackling and the sack leaders. You're the guy like Sue who's always under double team. You're taking away two, and on rare occasions, sometimes three guys to keep you out of the play. And he would do that at Nebraska, I think. Who is it he made here? I mean, he made a hero out. I think Jared Crick was sacking everything in sight. And I thought there was one other defensive end with him. Maybe it was just Crick I was thinking of, that was just running wild and getting sacks, because Sue had the rest of those college offensive lines just trying to keep him out of there. So good. I hope I bet it was a good watch. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Pitt. Kudos to Dilly for keeping his hubris in check and executing the game plan. Take what they give. I'll tell you what. Here was an example of it today. Somebody asked him today, "Hey, Dylan, were you aware that you'd set the consecutive passes completed row, the last 11 against Cincinnati in a row, in the first 9 against Akron?" And he's like, no, I wasn't aware. He's like, "That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool." He goes, "But you know what?" He goes, "But I got to be honest. It's cooler than that, being 2-0." And he couldn't flip to that quick enough. Like, yeah, I love having that record, but means nothing without the wins. Is kind of the way he goes. He is about as chill a young man, as I've seen come along. Really seen him, and I know I said this last week, but really seen him grow and relax more in front of reporters. And he's a funny dude. He's fun to have around now. We got Ja'Cory Barney in there today for the first time I'd been around. I think it was probably his first media appearance, and he just walks in grinning ear to ear, and you kind of just sense right away, and I wouldn't even imagine what it's like to be on the field practicing with him, because apparently, he's just balls out all the time. And this year got the respect for getting the single digit jersey, but you can just tell this is a guy just loving the football life. I can kind of just sense the energy and the charisma around him too, in a little different way than Dylan, but they both kind of got that thing beyond the abilities. So that's fun to watch and fun to be around. Yeah, Pitt likes that. You ain't my friend. No, he wasn't. Let's see. Yep. So yeah, Sue, quite the businessman. So good to hear about his business prowess, being a dad. And if you remember, it's the Indomitian Sue weight room, because he turned around and wrote the check. However many, because he got a several $1 million bonus, and he turned around and wrote the university like a $2 million check to upgrade the weight room and everything. So, good guy, big heart. Long as he's not in a different colored uniform and with pads on than yours. Think that's done now. I believe he's officially retired. But yeah, Nebraska, we love him. So Everybody else, trash talk your head off. We will embrace the guy. Let's see. So, oh God, here's what I wanted to talk about. This is what I was talking about when I said Mekhi Nelson had one of his receptions was for 41 yards. Well, that took some doing. That took a little bit of doing. Apparently, because I was confused because it was on this play that the refs decided, or at least I thought, that, oh, by the way, we've reviewed this. It's that 41-yard he was out, and it's a 20-yard gain, and they go back and mark the ball. And everybody on the field seemed to be okay with it because I've been told, and I didn't have time to look it up and confirm it. Okay, I'm lying. I did have time. I just kept forgetting. But I haven't confirmed it. But apparently now they can just quickly conduct their own reviews between plays if something's questionable, looks like it's getting marked. And if they decide it's obvious enough, then they can just announce it right then and there. We reviewed it and it's this. And then so in these cases, there's no throwing the review flag. There's no the ref saying it's under review. Apparently it's one they think they can get done on a quick look or two. Well, it didn't really get off the ground with flying colors because here you go. Mekhi has a catch and run for 40 yards. Yay! Then we hear after review, it's actually a 20-yard gain. We move it back to the 41-yard line. What's this? No one really seemed to know. And I'm like, I didn't hear them say it was under review. So they move it back, and everybody's like, oh, well, game's well in hand. No reason to freak out. I can only imagine this happening and say, hey, it is, Nebraska, Iowa in the fourth quarter. So then they go and announce, after another review, it is now a 41-yard gain. So they take 20 off, and then they put 21 back for a net 41-yard gain. And we're like, okay, well, and then I think it was just a couple plays later, TJ Lateef does his little scramble move, dives, and touchdown TJ Lateef. After review, this is on the 1-yard line, and they didn't re-review that. And I saw the replay of that, and I said, okay, a knee's going down, but that ball's not 1 yard away, and it looks pretty damn close. So why are we not actually, if you go back and look at that, maybe that's why they take extra time, because they're rubbing the shit out of their eyes. Because whoever thought that thing was on the one when his knee was down, I have a disagreement with. Maybe I'll watch it again, and I'm wrong twice, but I still will have watched it probably 2 more times than they did. So we'll see. But I didn't like that. Of course, we're on the one. We're getting in, so you're not losing it. But when you have like 3 of those new reviews in about, probably about 5 minutes of actual time, you're not gaining confidence in the system. And also, if they're going like, hey, and we're just trying to cut the game time, well, you know what? You get the middle finger for that too, because last time you were saying, hey, we're going to run the clock in all these situations, so you're running 60 or 70 plays a game instead of 80 or 90. Well, you guys didn't shorten the game times. You shorted the actual playing time, but then the game's TV times are still the same length. So all you did there was take away football action for ads. And if that's what you're doing here, then I don't give a shit. Get rid of it. If you are, then you better be sure, and at least, and if there's not time to look at it 2 or 3 times, then either make somebody throw a review flag, or, you guys can call for reviews. I'm not sure. It's a very small sample. I'll give you that, but what I saw did not inspire confidence. So let's see if anybody's got anything to say about that. Oh, Pitt needs to go. This is my fault. I was going to ask her to come in tonight and talk some volleyball. And again, Tuesday's a crazier day. This Tuesday was under much better control than last Tuesday. And there's just a bunch going on Tuesdays with the morning, or I guess they're more like the brunch press conferences, because that's when they bring in both coordinators and several players, and those run a lot longer. Then I want to get home. It's like, luckily I got my article out during that press conference and the breaks in between, but I want to get some tweets up, get some other stuff done. hopefully have a half hour to myself. But we'll get Miley on. I haven't forgotten her. She might be hoping I forget her, but she's not that lucky. I invested a lot into that child's well-being and education. She gets to appear on this every now and then for a few minutes. Minnie, what do you mean? How about Illinois getting $100 million gift to athletics? What did T Boone's corpse like will some to them that apparently he's been keeping away from? From Mr. I'm a man, I'm 40, Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy was so butthurt over Oregon's money, and it wouldn't be so funny if T Boone Pickens didn't like spend Oregon into the dirt at Oklahoma State when he was alive. And I think they were still sitting on like 300 million he gave them back around 2001. I would think if that's been invested well, and I think it was invested in a lot of T-Boone stock, that you shouldn't be running dry there. I wish I'd gotten a picture of it. The Oregon social media people are right there with TCU and some of the better college social media teams that like to poke every bear with the stick. Yeah, because there's Gundy complaining about Oregon's money and are we supposed to compete with that NIL? It ain't fair. Shut up, T-Boone Gundy. So Oregon beats them 63-3, and then they throw up on social media like a picture from the game, and then it just says an investment in excellence. And if that wasn't a middle finger, since Stillwater's way, I don't know what was. But no, I didn't hear about 100 mil getting getting 100 mil. What somebody say? Tell me how they got it, or who gave it to them, that sort of thing. Because hopefully, I hope that doesn't amount to anything. Because I can't. The hell with Illinois. What I'm not for things that want to make Bert happy. Yeah, but that'll help with what they're building there. I wonder how much Bielema gets input on how it's spent. Well, you have 14 more Arby's in the concourse. Whatever. Screw you, Bert. I think Bert's a cheap, dirty piece of shit. Let's just leave it at that for now. Says Bert is why that money is coming in. He's gonna get what he needs, whether it comes from this donation or 100 others. All right, Minnie, you don't get time to yourself during football season, Andy. Minnie, that's bullshit. Yes, I do. This is my golden happy days. I'm gonna take a second to myself right now with a drink of delicious Propel. I'm sorry I didn't get my drink mixed in time. Oh, that's so much better. Gundy is a legend. He could have left a while ago. I think so. I thought Gundy was a hell of an offensive coach. Well, let's put it this way. He was 62nd in the country until he hired Holgerson for a year and then jumped to number 1. So maybe not. I always enjoyed Gundy. I thought the I'm a man, I'm 40, though, after reading some of what the quarterback he benched his family had to say about him, I think that was more of a Mike Gundy look at me moment than any particular concern for that young man going back. And they were like after he benched him, he barely knew his name, wouldn't give him the time of day. But yeah, now kind of like how much Bill McCartney loved Sal and Easy after he impregnated his daughter, and compared to how much he loved him after he died, and all of a sudden it could be a look at me, Bill McCartney moment there. Yeah, I know that sounds mean, but that doesn't mean it ain't true. So I don't know. I did Gundy in that particular instance, but his teams were always fun to watch. He probably could have upgraded his job, but I suspect there were T-Boone perks there that were maybe a reason he wasn't, or maybe other athletic directors just didn't see it in him, and maybe thought it was like guys like Holgerson. Who knows? But I won't lie. He was always entertaining. I enjoyed him. Got him and his haircuts. Yeah, I don't know. Can't decide right now, but for the most part, I liked him. Let's see. Yeah, Minnie says she likes him too. Yeah, I'm not wishing that what's happening right now is happening to him, but man, something ain't working anymore, and I have a feeling they might let him last the season. out for a thank you for your service type of move. But it ain't getting any better, and they need to move on and figure something out. Now, thing is, man, the first time that I thought Burt was a piece of shit was that Wisconsin Big Ten title game where they smoked us, and then that had like the long Taylor Martinez run, the Kenny, but we got more highlights and like getting 70 strapped on us, than we did. Because what was that, 70-39 or something was the final, or 70-37, 70-31. I think 70-31 sounds right. But yeah, it's like you say, then you had Kenny Bell lay the block on that guy. And I'm sorry, to this day, the tape defends that clean as hell. He doesn't have to avoid him. He is pulling up. He doesn't run through it. He is walking. When he hits him, he walks 2 steps and comes to a stop. And as he said, I think at one point being interviewed, they had asked him about that block, which they basically just made there wasn't even targeting then. It was a clean block. He's the closest guy to the ball carrier. Kerblamo, and oh no, you get a flag just because you hit a guy in a Big Ten game really hard as Nebraska, which still kind of happens at times now. But yeah, he said, well, here's what I did. I'm told you can't lead with your helmet. So I loaded my shoulder. You can't go for the head, and you can't cut below the legs. So I put a shoulder right in the middle of his chest and turned around to see a flag sitting on the ground. So he's like, so I just have no idea how to block downfield anymore. It's just, is it any responsibilities of this guy to be able to look and not just to tunnel? Because if you're running downfield and it was a deep play to start, there might be somebody coming here, not everybody chasing from behind. Well, anyway, after that, I think you saw 3 or 4 times where they came in late hits low at Martinez. So that's not an accident. That is Burt giving an order that they're following. So fuck him for that. And then last year, you just saw all you need to know about Burt. Burt right now, his teams will be getting fined and flagged in the SEC, where they now have fines and along with a penalty that if you drop to the ground, if you present yourself as injured, great way of putting it, which I guess you can just like be sitting there and then go, ow, my leg, as they're about to mark the ball. But once they said once the ball is marked and you present yourself as injured, penalty. And I believe in the SEC it also comes with a fine after so many. That Illinois game last year was just guys dropping left and right. I counted like 6 or 7, and I'm telling you, at one point Rule had enough of it, because here was like there was like one of those close 4th down markings. And they got to the line, and then somebody in Nebraska dropped, which you never see. And then you just kind of saw Rule there looking up at the scoreboard, and then literally the first play that we run when we get the ball back, there's somebody in Illinois dropping in just to let Burt know, I know what you're doing and it's not funny. Well, we saw what you're doing and it's not funny either. Nope, Burt, big piece of shit. So glad you were never our head coach, even if it meant more wins. I'm just glad. That got another good rant. I'm in a rant mood tonight. All right, let's see. What's this? Oh, okay. It was Matt S. says it was Larry Geese, close enough, who gave them $100 million, owner of a large filtration company. Perfect. It's a guy. It's one of those super rich guys which 98% of them you really never hear too much about them unless they start stirring something up, and most of them just want to be left alone and earn their money. Brad, I promise I'll get there. We're set. Andy, are there any Big Ten coaches you like? I don't mind Ryan Day. I understand how you can upset people, especially Michigan, even though they've won 4 in a row over him now. But there's a couple instances I think where he's had our back, kind of. The Chattanooga game, I believe, for that Chattanooga game, which they treated us worse than either any of the pervert doctors from Michigan State, or Ohio State. They acted like trying to schedule a game without their permission in a situation we've never had before. It's like, oh my God, Nebraska, just who in the hell do you think you are? And I believe Ryan Day kind of stood up and said, well, I don't see what was wrong with that. He goes, I think we'd be looking for a game if somebody got got COVIDed out of ours, and with a week to go, school needs that money. So that might be the reason for Ryan Day. Let me think. Kirk Ferentz, no, racist. Sharon Moore, I don't know enough about him. He was part of that staff, so screw him. Yeah, not too many. Is probably PJ Fleck. That's probably where Minnie was going. 100% no. He is. There is unintentional comedy there in just what he thinks of himself, like the screaming for 15 minutes, just shouting his entire 15-minute little spiel at the Big Ten Media Days was just high comedy. I know that Benny heard me muttering about that the whole time. Who are some of the others? Who I really like is Loxley, Maryland's coach. I like Loxley, and I think he's went into a situation with little to no chance of success. Maryland really seems to be a school that's not pouring much support into their sports these days, and I like let's see, Shiano. I don't mind at Rutgers. I think he's a hell of a coach. He coaches physical. I know he had a couple of deals in his past, but like the one, he was the submarine the legs guy, which they were saying went on and right before the half in the Akron game. I think doing that every now and then, unless you make it not a rule, then I would just tell the offensive line in those just taking a knee situations, man, just get low, don't let them get you. I don't like it, but if they haven't outlawed it, what can you do? There was one with James Franklin. This comes as a surprise to people, but the first couple times the same thing at Big Ten Media Days. Just got a really good vibe off Franklin. Got to stand around a conversation he was in, and then the way he talks, he's a pretty positive dude. I think people have caught it. He's the one that I'll say people I think have caught him at his worst. He seems to be pretty positive, decent guy, pretty funny. I didn't know he was funny. He's made a few good cracks here and there. I've come to like James Franklin. And geez, I guess we're getting down to ones I don't know that much about. Well, the West Coast guys, Lincoln Riley, what the hell? Guy, how many times did the guy go to the playoff? He can't be that bad a coach, Oklahoma, if you didn't like him taking the big payout from Southern Cal, I mean, I wouldn't like it either, but you're not going to take a payoff, a big raise and moving from Oklahoma to Southern Cal. Come on, man. I liked Deshaun Foster until this season started. I thought he did a good job last year. I think he got to a 5-7 record after a 1-4, 1-5 start against a schedule at the time that was third toughest in the country and was not exactly getting blown out of those games. I was saying, look out for this guy. I think this team's tougher. I kind of went into this season saying the same thing, and I'm getting like sand kicked in my face for it because suddenly they just look awful. And they've just gotten, I don't know, but I can't remember who trounced them in the second game, but I thought they got beat pretty handily again. And Utah, who finished 8th in the conference last year in the Big 12, just blew them off the field in the opener. But I liked him. I felt bad for him when he vapor locked for his talk at Big Ten Media Days, and you just saw him freeze for about 30 seconds. But then you didn't really get to see that once he started taking the questions, it was boom, boom, back and forth, was ready. Because he didn't know he was supposed to make a speech, is what I found out later. He just thought it was get up there, say hi. And then he saw the guy in front of him talk for about 5 or 6 minutes, and he was like, oh, I don't have a speech ready. So maybe he just, isn't at that point where he's Matt Rule and doesn't need a speech. There's always some loaded somewhere. But yeah, and I think that's about most of it. Dan Lanning I love, but that's only because of the Georgia side of me. He was maybe the best defensive coordinator they ever had, and we so missed him and Todd Monken to the Ravens, Lanning to Oregon as a head coach, and they 100% both deserved it. But yeah, I like Lanning. I like Lanning because if you start giving him shit, he's going to give it to you back. He doesn't take the high road. I'm not saying that's hands down what I want out of everybody. I think Matt Rule does a masterful job of not backing down from anybody, but not stirring anything up. No reason to stir up the hornet's nest. But Lanning's a little more proactive about fuck you back. And so, let's see. Is that the Washington coach? Jed Fish. I don't know enough about him yet. We'll see how that plays out. He kind of did the Matt Rule type turnaround at Arizona, I believe, from 1 win to 9 or 10 in 3 seasons. And who does that? I think that's all our Westy coaches. So that's enough. So yeah, I don't hate everybody, but why should I like more than I hate? That's stupid. I don't even like this. I don't even like this dumb conference, even though there's no really better option. So there you go. Let's see. Yeah, Minnie, are you trying to recruit Fleckies? Not to this show, guys. Not now. Not ever. Oh, and says the geezer gave 150 mil to the Illinois School of Business. Well, good. Glad he's spreading the wealth. What's that? Oh God, his eye surgery. Yeah, when Fleck 2 years ago, and I didn't even come close to starting that one. But I'm like, is that PJ Fleck? And he tried to say it was because of like some injury, like to the other eye, and they needed to go in there, and it was like this is a whole like total rebuild across the forehead there. But tell me if there's one coach who'd go give himself some facial plastic surgery. Is there a name you think that would do it before PJ Fleck? And not somebody, one of those 78-year-old coaches wanting to get rid of the wrinkles. I'm talking somebody, in the 40s or 50s max like Fleck. Nothing going wrong here, but I just need to be prettier, damn it. Let's see. I'm so glad. I disagree. I wish we did play Illinois this season. Not even at our best. I thought we had them last season, and then they ended up winning 10 games, I believe. Grr. So the hell with that. Here we go, Fitty. Welcome, Fitty. Oh, wait, first, there's Asian Posh Doreen back. Good to see you again. Hello, Cornhusker Nation. Hello, Asian Posh Doreen. All right, then we got Fitty, apparently. He is a Nebraska fan who also cheers for Arkansas. Good. I like to hear when sometimes there's other sports bigamists. If it's Nebraska versus Georgia, it's Nebraska. It just doesn't make me super happy. It's like and I know like what the spread would be if we played them now, but I still think as far as my love for the teams, that's big brother and little brother, and don't like to see big brother beat up little brother. And now it's even tougher because I have a relative starting quarterback for him, and that so it's probably ramping up the Georgia love a little. I still don't think we're threatening them this year, but if we do, let's just say the worst 2 New Year's days for bowl games in my life were those stupid back-to-back Cap One bowls. And I remember the second year where it's getting close, and I'm just like, this is falling right back. They're both getting ready to fall right back into the Cap One bowl, and it's like, and you bastards are supposed to make sure you don't play the same teams back to back. And yep, we lost the first with T-Magic. I think that was a pretty closer, high-scoring game, like both teams in the 30s or something like that. Good game. And then we had the mud game, and this time it was Tommy Armstrong, and he hit a Nunwa at around midfield for that 99-yard TD pass out of the end zone. We were very much helped by the fact that Todd Gurley really, really wanted to play. I think it was his senior year, and he was only at about 75, 80%, but insisted on playing in the bowl game, and was told you can't make it any worse. But yeah, you could definitely see Todd wasn't at 100%, and the Huskers got out of there with a lower scoring win because it was crappier conditions. So 1-1. Yeah, that's fine. They don't have to play again for another 40 years. But yeah, so look at that, though. He's glad Bert's gone from Arkansas. How can you not be? Because why? Because he's a piece of shit. Doreen, Minnie was happy to see you. Hey, just supporting my beautiful co-host. Okay, they're fist bumping away. Geez. Fred's here. Why not? Let's just go. Evening, you fucks. What did I miss? Well, quite a bit, actually, Fred. Quite a bit. Andy hates Bert and PJ. Yeah, I do. I don't find much redeeming about either of them, except for the fact they're good football coaches, and that just makes it worse. Oh, my God. It was 3 years ago when Fleck got in trouble because it's always got to be about him. Somebody had the funniest tweet because when Minnesota wins, PJ likes to remind them who this program is really all about by leaping up so his players can pass them over their heads and crowd surfing in the locker room. And somebody did a picture of that and goes, Minnesota, Minnesota celebrating a Big Ten title in their first trip to the Natty. And just kidding. They beat Buffalo at home 23-10. Oh, you're reading that while watching PJ get crowd surfed. But yeah, awesome. Well, I always said it was like the only reason PJ they think I don't know. Does he still do it? I can't remember it. I thought it kind of went away, but puts Minnesota is, where their names go on the backs of the jerseys. And I figured the only reason he did that was because they won't let him put Fleck. The ones that take the names off the jerseys, most of the time it feels like that's being done by coaches who really want the center spotlight on them. Like another guy who was the program at Penn State, and you better recognize Joe Paterno. No names. I don't want them thinking about them. No, because they might forget the name Paterno for a few seconds, you chump. All right, Luke Fickell. I don't mind. I like Luke, but I don't know. Luke always just came off, and he's not. But I just remember the look on his face when Nebraska was coming back from, 27-6 to beat the Luke Fickell coached Ohio State Buckeyes 34-27 for the biggest comeback, 3 touchdowns, the biggest comeback in school history. He just looked a little dopey. But no, I like Luke. I like what he did at Cincinnati. I'm telling you what, if you're going to coach Wisconsin, you better be a run the ball 75-80% of the time, unless you got Russ Wilson in your pocket. Otherwise, you walk in there and they see that you ran like a little more wide open offense. It's just going to be jumping on you right away. What are you going to do? How are you going to run the offense? And he kind of sassed back right out of the gate. We're going to put it up and we're going to open it up, and I don't care what anybody thinks. And I'm like, and just like that, kind of like the guy from Nevada that came there, went to Oregon State. You come in there with it is just like, I can hear them like spitting into their handkerchiefs. You're coming in here with all them newfangled ideas that don't work up here, and you just lose them right out of the gate in Wisconsin. Here's Nebraska, the run the damn ball state, and no one's ever really been. I won't lie. People at times are like, it's pass and work and run the damn ball, but people here really want a more balanced offense to work. And if you can get a little whole taste of Holgel's old air raid in there, and you saw a little bit of that Saturday night, isn't anybody complaining, and nobody's like, if a new coach comes in, nobody's going, you better not run that here and crap like that. And just seems like that's the Wisconsin vibe. Am I making that up? So I kind of thought when he said that, and then I can't remember, he said something weird at media days too, that before he'd coached a game, I was kind of shaking my head going, I think this is ending right about now. It might take 2 or 3 years for the aftershocks to, reach a point of making a change. But right then I said, this might be dead in the water, and it's a shame. So yeah, if you're the guy that the athletic department is looking for with your little more wide open offense, a little more spreads and Pistol Pete, you might just want to thank them for their interest, but tell them you're really happy where you are. Just my advice. Yeah, Fickell, he's always struck me as not a bad guy, I guess. And right now, I was getting ready to call him a pretty good guy, but I might be feeling sorry for what he's going through. So yeah, that good question, Minnie. I forgot about Luke. Luke gets his test this weekend. Didn't he damn near fail the second grade spelling bee last weekend? Or did he? I don't know. I didn't think it was going this well. Who are they playing this week? And throw that down at the bottom there for me, if you would. I can't think of it, and I'm curious. Let's see. Hey, whoa, Dan Lanning. I think, you think Barry Odom's going to turn Purdue around? He's not going to do it too quickly, I don't believe. We'll see. I'd like to see him be. I wanted to see Ryan Walters be successful there, but he just didn't. He didn't strike me, meeting him, as having the head coach mentality / aura / you want to kind of get. I don't want to say alpha male, because there's too many idiots running around today thinking alpha male is just behaving like a jackass who never makes mistakes and then being really blustery when there's no actual fight to be had. No, I want the ones that kind of have that air of not really control, but walking like they've got a plan. They know what it is. They're not afraid to relate to players. They do, when it comes to hitting the physical end of the game, they're very much for that and selling that. Like, it makes me think of Holgerson, because everybody just thought of him as dip, deep, dunk. And it was Matt Rule who said this guy at West Virginia, as West Virginia's head coach, had some of the toughest offensive linemen and offensive players that we'd played against. They just were tearing into you every play, and that's before people realized, yeah, he's running for 150 to 180 games with his offenses. But yeah, it's just, you've got to kind of have I don't know, I'll just call it the indescribable air of head coachishness. And it's not exactly the same for everybody, but when you meet one, you kind of know it. I'll give you an example just at the high school level is Larry Martin at Omaha North. We run into him. North plays their games down the street at Northwest, which I said, and fans and coaches and stuff tend to come up to Tiger Tom's after their games. And Larry, yeah, really nice guy, really jovial guy, but he's just kind of got that dude's the head coach. And if you see all the coaches coming in talking and you listen to him, you figure it out in under a minute that this is the guy steering the ship. So something like that. Hey, real quick, congrats as well, since Omaha North came up. Donovan Jones, defensive back, cornerback / safety, got his black shirt, I guess. Even before the first game, it sounded like they were talking about a black shirt. They said he's listed as a backup to Marshall. He goes, but he's on the field as a fifth D-back. He's on there as a safety. He comes in at safety. And we realized he's on the field as much as the starters. And so good for you, Donnie Jones. Represent Omaha North there. Let's see. Oh, I thought let's talk about, here are probably the offensive players of the game. Obviously, Raiola, 24-31, 364 yards, 4 TDs, 77% completion percentage, and actually ran 3 times for 13 yards. I asked him, like, hey, he took it as I hoped he would. I hope I would get dirty looks for it. But I was like, can we expect any more spin moves in the near future, maybe this weekend? He started laughing and just goes, man, I just wish I didn't fall down. He thought he had it. It was come completely around. And no, he said he just went on instinct, and maybe that's them, having him knock about 5 pounds off over spring break. He looked pretty spry. So he finishes with 377 total yards, beat Sorsby by 4. But yeah, everything going, spinning the ball, hitting everybody in stride, making the right reads, just going through the progressions. They talked about that a lot today. I did ask, I got 2 questions on Matt Rule. I asked him, so he had a big game, obviously, but what were some of the things he saw that impressed him or made him happy that you wouldn't necessarily see turning up on the stat sheet? And the first thing he does is he goes, didn't turn the ball over. Didn't turn it over once. And he goes, but think about it. He says, my first year here, we were like minus 17. It was a disaster. And I remember doing an article on just how bad the quarterbacking was. I think I was trying to defend the fact that Raiola would have been starting at 17 years old in Lincoln, if he was able to skip his senior year of high school, because over the last 4 or 5 games, I believe our quarterbacks as a unit scored 7 touchdowns. So not a lot of touchdowns made by the quarterbacks. And these, you had Harburg was one of them. Purdy could run some. So this was running and throwing. So 7 total touchdowns, running and throwing, and 17 interceptions / fumbles lost. So they were literally, the quarterbacks themselves were minus 10, like those last, I think, four games, might have been 5. I'd have to go back and check the article. So they're minus 17 for the year. And Rule says, and then last year we improved to minus 2. Big improvement. He goes, but you still got to be in the positives if you want to have a winning record. And he's like, and so that's what he's done. He says not only is he at 77% of all the quarterbacks in the top 30 nationally of throwing percentage, only one quarterback had thrown more passes. So he's getting in the top. He's getting in the top 5 there the hard way. He's putting it in the air. He's not going, 8 for 10, and then running option the rest of the day. So anyway, proud of him. He also did note that Emmett Johnson is 7th in total. I believe it was 7th in total yards for running backs, and 8th in total yards per game or whatever, or rushing yards. I'm sorry. So nice performance out of them. Emmett had 14 carries for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns there, and then his long run was 47. We talked last week, almost busted a few, busted 2, busted a 47 and a 36 yarder. And in addition, he caught 2 passes for 7 yards. One of those was a TD. So he finished with 3 touchdowns on the day. Now, and then Ja'Cory Barney, laser show, 7 catches for 132 yards, long catch of 39 yards, and then 4 punt returns for 87 yards, a 21.8 per average, and a long return of 39. And that those 87 yards, more than all the punt return yards in 2024. He beat 2024's punt return total in one game. The Eckler effect is beginning to show, folks. Is it not? Love you, Mike Eckler. Anyway, let's see what else. Oh, you know what? I actually had a few pictures because I knew I was going to talk about Donovan Jones. So there's a picture of Donnie. This is also a big excuse. We have a photographer that will come out for several games this season. His name is Stephen Bruce, and I'm just going to show you a few of his picks from the Cincinnati game. I can't remember if I did or not Tuesday. I don't think I did because I was in a big hurry. So here's some of his shots he took from down on the field. There's Cade Petrak or Petrak. It looks like Peter Zach, but he is the true South Dakota, I believe, true freshman. And they had been talking him up all through fall camp. And we're talking the offensive lineman, the defensive lineman, and he talked about announcing your presence with authority. He gets his first tackle right here as a Husker. And let's see, let me get that off. Okay, gets his first tackle as a Husker with that safety after, I believe that was after we got stopped on downs. So good job there. Let's see, back to the pictures. We showed you Donnie. I'm going to save that one for last. There's a shot he got of Hartzog, and I think who is one? Shaver? No, Shavers is like 9. Maybe Singleton's one, but that's Hartzog right after the interception. So cool. And then there's a nice shot of Dylan letting one rip. I think is that Gotchula and Spindler maybe blocking for him. No, but yeah, nice throwing action shot there. A hearty farewell to Janiron Bonner, who was lost for the season. Really can't, Rule couldn't emphasize enough how big of a loss he is, just because fullback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, all the special teams. He's just the walking Swiss Army knife. Hopefully he makes a full recovery and we get to see him again next year. And then there's Emmett coming in behind Gunnar Gotchula. He came out today. Fun to listen to him talk for the first time. And he gave a great response. I asked him, what's the difference? So I said, last year, here you are about halfway through the season, you're kind of thrown into the fire. And then this season you get to do a full camp, you win the job outright. What's it like moving from point A to point B? Good answer. He says, you know what though? He goes, last year I was ready. I was ready to go. I knew I could do it. So there wasn't really it was the struggle. I mean, no, he said he hit the field. He'd been well coached and he was able to turn that into a performance on the field right away. But then says this year, he goes, but I'm telling you, there's a difference. I come in this year, I'm several games wiser. My body's a lot more physically mature, and there's a difference. I'm better, but yeah, he was kind of like, that's it. He goes, but I like that. Last year, he was like, yeah, I was ready to go. And then if you want a great shot, here you go. That's the shot of Isaiah Hunter fighting for that touchdown in Cincy, where this Cincy guy, right there's a great shot. He could not have done anything more on that to defend that play. Not a thing. And he got in there, he knocked it loose. And Hunter, man, the concentration to lose it, get it back, and still manage to get that foot down in there. But play the game. I'll call that. I mean, congratulations. Not to take away from Hartzogs. You can't beat the timing of that play. But just as far as a one-on-one battle and winning the battle through strength and concentration, brother, that was it, and that's a great shot. So whenever Steven does the game, go ahead and check. I believe Tuesday or Wednesday, you'll see. God, now I can't even remember, like photo gallery. I probably called it like Cornhuskers Cincinnati, Nebraska Cincinnati photo gallery. I put a bunch of his pictures in there. Check it out. Stephen Bruce is an amazing photographer, has a great eye. And here's my favorite shot that he got. You've got the two kickers. You have Kyle Cunanan for Nebraska and Steve Rusnak. I guess he goes by Rusty. That Stephen got them. He ran into them on the field, and after the game, they like saw him going, "Who are you? Oh, can you take a picture of us?" And he said, I guess he just said, "Get a hold of me or go through coordination or whatever." And so, having no idea what's going on, I get an Instagram message from Rusty going, "Hey, I heard you took the picture." I'm like, "Yeah, can you send it to me?" I'm like, "Absolutely." It said, might be a couple of days. Steven usually needs a couple of days to go through everything, catalog everything, and then send all the stuff for us, so we can use them in our articles. And then I said, and then I'll bug him to get your picture in. And so I think it took him like a day. He does. And then also, Will Cunanan, he hits me. He just hits me, probably knowing me as Corn R Nation, Cobby L. Cobblesworth, just through our Twitter account, and saying, same story. Hey, can you get me that picture? And then I think on Monday, Rusty said, "Hey, babe, he's not calling me baby. He's like, "Hey, man, how's that picture coming?" I'm like, "All right, I got to let you sit a little, Rusty, and he'll get them when he gets them." Got him a few hours later, sent him off. So here's that picture. This is really cool. And the story was these guys played at Charlotte together, and then both ended up transferring, Rusty to Cincinnati. And then Cunanan, I don't think he ever kicked for him. I think he transferred to California over this winter. And then when we came a call and said bye California and came to Nebraska, for God's sake, who can blame him? But here's that picture. And, they were. It's like, you could just tell these two guys, really good friends, really, really, really wanted to have that picture. And glad you guys were able to meet up. So, like, there's the thing. Since he just lost a 3-point game, and Rusty's grinning because he's back with his friend. I'm sorry. That's good stuff. I think I got a couple. What's this one here? If you can read that, my screen's small, but this is a good finger to Texas, I guess. "Daddy, is it okay that I feel like I don't want to live anymore?" Hank, "Yes, Bobby, that's normal." And so, I hope you felt the pain, Texas. We don't like you still. And then the Swifties apparently lost their minds. You've seen that picture of her and Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce kissing after their little engagement. So anyway, after the game, the Huskers site did this as Herbie coming in for the kill. And apparently it allegedly, I didn't care enough to do any kind of in-depth investigation, but it allegedly caused the Swifties some consternation and caused them to send horrible things. So the Nebraska site took it down, but I put it right back up along with many others. It's on our Twitter account. Just go Herbie and Taylor, and if you want your own copy of that photo, I'm sure it's there and easy to get. Got my first game at down there at Memorial Stadium, but yeah, I always take a picture. I really like the neat little name tags they set down there for us. It's good stuff. There's a shot of the day shot I got. If I want to get one for the new background, I want to try and get both end zones though. So I'll work on something so you can freshen up here and not have stupid old green fake grass end zones. So anyway, that's the photo review part of the show. Oh, let's see. I'm guessing the comments never stopped. Let's see what we got here. Do. Okay, here's a good place to start there. We'd gotten past Ryan Walters and Jed Fish talk. Let's see. Maryland is curious. Maybe they're getting, I don't know. Sounds to me like their athletic department's just getting outmatched right now. That they're not wanting to pour it in, and that's maybe an athlete. They should still be able to make a run at it just with Big Ten TV money alone. I don't know. it seems like that's not an insurmountable problem in the Big Ten. Yeah, I agree with many here. Warren Walters was perfect as the DC, and Jed Fish, likes him. So, yep, we'll see. And Minnie says, Big Ten this week has all non-conference games except UCLA, Purdue, Oregon, Northwestern. Well, I think would all of them had a week 0 game, or maybe they're just doing they're going to do the SEC thing and put a chunk game early in November to reduce the injury risks there, get a second off week or a third off week. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, Pit Snipe says, go Boilers. Who are they playing? UCLA. That might be upset special there. It's who knows. Let's see. That doesn't look Fred. That doesn't look like Stephen Bruce is all. The photographer Fred. My God. Let's see. How the hell did Eck make such a huge leap from what we did last year on special teams? Well, his special teams were ranked like always in the top, I think, 1 or 2 in the SEC and top 10 in the conference. They led the SEC. I know in punt returns last year, and he said he did it with 4 different guys. Does a special teams coach ever get hired as a head coach? I don't know. He left Nebraska to be the co-defensive coordinator at Indiana. That's back in 2010, maybe. It'd been a lot of years. And he'd been usually linebackers and special teams coach. He was a linebacker special teams coach at Tennessee. Here, I don't know. He is a Nebraska native and I'm betting he did not take a loss to go from linebacker special team coach to just special team coach. I think he was told, here's the thing, you just give this all your attention. We want you to be you, and flipping on its ear. It was funny today because I want to make sure I don't mess this quote up. I asked Jacory, what's it like? I said, you're known for your energy out there. Coach Eckler's known for a little bit of energy himself. How does that work? He just grinning ear to ear. And he's like, thanks, man. He goes, yeah, Eck, man. He goes, he's got juice. I got juice. We're the types, man. If somebody don't have the juice, the other one of us is bringing the juice. He says, he don't have it, I got it for him. And if I don't have it, he's got it for me. And I'm just like, the two of you together. Holy shit. That just must be sparks flying. But anyway, yeah. The only thing I'm seeing problems with right now are kickoff returns, and that just has to go back to I think that pretty much just has to go back to Cincinnati, because I only think we had one on Saturday night. And then the kickoffs were looking kind of shaky, but that seemed more like the kickers than sounds like you put Cunanan up there, let him kick off, he can just pop it out of the end zone. Whereas, Alvano and Hull couldn't even keep it in bounds. I don't know if they told him, go for it. I don't care if it's out of bounds. I want you guys to try the super high corner kick or something like that. That's going to be your specialty. So, and they just didn't pull that off, because that's a possibility. I truly believe that when Kenneth Williams was running those kickoffs short of the 25 last week, and it looked like kick was up there long enough that he's probably not going too far, I had a feeling that was just, all right, time to be Cold Trickle and Days of Thunder, like Eckler was talking about that one day, and just, man, step on the gas and drive right through all the smoke. So that's probably what was going on there. But obviously, punt returns are working. The punting's fine. The punt returns are fine. Kickoffs are fine when Conanon's in there. The field goal, I don't think Conanon's missed an extra point or a field goal yet. Booted the 52-yarder. So, yeah, nice flip. And we weren't hurting at punter last year. But even in that first game, no one came close to touching Archie, whereas Buschini really didn't have the option to go, even if they wanted him to, go running around with rugby kicks, because the blockers were coming through and everybody was screaming downfield at our returner. It just was not working. What does Fred say here? I hope it's clean. I didn't check him first. Minnie, Eck made a difference, A, because he's awesome, and B, he just has a functioning brain. And don't forget he's awesome. Hey, you want to hear a good Gilbert Gottfried joke? Hey, man goes into a doctor's office, as men tend to do in these jokes. They go to farms or doctor's offices, and that's it. Well, anyway, Man goes into a doctor's office, and the doctor says, "I've got bad news for you." "Oh no, doc, what is it?" He goes, "Well, first of all, you have cancer, and you also have Alzheimer's disease." And the man goes, "Thank God I don't have cancer." So, yeah, that's the downside of pods. I can't hear the laughter, and I know you're all dying right now. That was one of my cleaner Gilbert Gottfried jokes. Let's see. There's bestiality in there somewhere. I missed it, but I'm going to go with Pitt. Let's just go ahead and roll by that. And Fred keeps going with the bestiality. And yeah, Vince. He's actually coaching special teams instead of out on dinner drive-ins and diet and divas tours. That Frost thing, because I don't think Ed Foley was known for anything particularly exciting, just being a fairly terrible special teams coach. Eck needs experience at the Power 2 level. He'd be great, and it will happen, but I'm afraid it won't be here. I don't know. He's pretty far into his career. I'm just wondering if he's one of those guys, because he probably could have, if he wanted to drop, 1 AA or 2. I think he had the chops to go after a head coaching job if he wants to start low and work up. And he's, fit, like, he's not as old. I want to say 50, like early 50s maybe. But I feel like he'd gone after it sooner than this or been offered. I'm just wondering if he gets more of a kick out of working his position group or positions groups than running the whole show. And I say this because I'm telling you, Dana Holgerson seems like a much, much happier man. And he's as much as said that he turned down Rule the first time, realized he didn't enjoy being a head coach, I don't think. And after the last firing, he's like, well, I'll just sit around, spend money for a while, not rush anything. Then he missed it. And then he went to TCU as just, the whatever, not coordinator, but counselor, whatever they call it, strategist. But then he was missing not really being able to do anything, I think. Came here, and so now I think he's back where he's happy in his mad doctor's offensive lab. Just worry about the offense, go score points. More than happy to help in recruiting, but I don't have to coordinate this, coordinate that. And he just talks. He's the one who talks a lot about Matt Rule being. You've heard this from some of the other coaches, Butler. Who's one of the position coaches? I think I've heard Barthel say it, but Holgerson, though, they just talk about how Matt Rule is just such a great captain of the ship, just detail oriented, knows what's going on with everybody, but gives everybody the freedom to do their thing, but it is still, lets everybody know he's the captain of the ship. Now, and you talk to guys who've tried that and are more than happy to just come back and, you know what? Give me a head coaching job at a little college. Give me a coordinator job. Give me a position group. You'd be amazed some of the head coach names you remember that are back to being coordinators or position coaches, because it's still quite good money with what's just it's still something that should burn you out and would if you didn't love it so much, but so much more fun than being in charge of everything. So let's see. I got one. Speaking of Hartzog, did y'all see the fourth quarter light show the drones coordinated to be Hart? I did not catch that part of it. I missed that because you can't see it that well with the lights in our face upstairs there. But no, I'll have to see if I can find that because that sounds cool as shit. And I just saw like Herbie Husker, I think, was maybe the one shot I got. And then, Pitt Snipe says he saw it but didn't recognize it. Fitty says I was screaming at my TV because of how awesome it was. Let's see. This is good. The Cincy kicker looks like Fred, an insurance agent with a mortgage and a wife and three kids and crippling debt. Yeah, but he still like shampoos really well. Kananen, quite frankly, looked like he's getting ready to go hop on his hog and get home ahead of the team bus. Let's see. Fred says natural light, oxygen, and anything in general offends a certain level of Swifties. That's pretty good. Oh, geez. It's a real picture of Taylor Swift. AI'd or what do you ever? Now AI is a cooler word for just dropping the picture over them. But no, that's a real Taylor Swift. It's something that picture she and Kelsey are making Google eyes at each other. So I think that's where the Swifties took such umbrage at altering that picture. Pitt, Minnie wants to, let's see, get drunk and get a big N tattooed on his chest. Then he'll always belong in Nebraska. Yeah, and coaching with his shirt off on the sideline. I don't think that's the thing he'll be hiding from anybody. Nope. Fred says Pitt, Herbie's her side piece now. Let's see. Well, T Swift gets a plus 100. She chalked it up a little. Let's see. Travis was with the blow up doll with Little Red. Oh, I didn't see that one. Good for them. So let's see. I'll admit this for Travis Kelce. For those of you who haven't seen Happy Gilmore 2, very, very funny. I mean, I laughed it just kept the spirit of the original. It didn't try to be anything it wasn't. It's just as stupid. It's just as funny. John Daly as John Daly was fantastic. And then half the fun is trying to find all the cameos. I think there's 34 or 35 of them. And I knew it was going to go deep when Happy's trying to make a comeback, and he's out there with Margaret Qualley, and I forget the other guy's name, and they're playing, and he's fucking up, but they go to the starter shack, literally a little wooden shack, and one of the two people in the the starter shack is Kelsey Plum from what it was she played for, the LA team, WNBA. But that just cracked me up seeing Kelsey Plum working at starter shack. I don't know why. They have a lot of the golfers. Jack Nicklaus is in there, making fun of the Arnold Palmer drink. Is it Xander Schauffele just keeps saying, like, that's what she said, and it's landing dead every time, and they're all going, dude, enough. and then he goes ahead and does it for a fourth time and turns around and like they're just. But no, well worth seeing. If you like the first one, you'll like the second one. Shooter's back. Ben Stiller's back. Ben Stiller and most of his family stick their head in there. I think the entire Sandler family makes an appearance. It's just good fun. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh God, which accent? Oh, my Southern one. Yeah, the Southern one's the only one that used to work, because that's both sides of the family grew up in Georgia. And I literally came out here and lost. They were making fun of, with 8th and 9th grade, they were making fun of my Southern accent that I didn't even know I had. And yeah, sometimes my dad would get a few beers in him, and then he'd start drawling back a little. It's good. It's good stuff. Let's see. 70s Child snuck in on me. I might be missing a few people tonight. If I didn't say your name at some point, I apologize. But all the gals, happy to see Minnie. How about that? Let's see. We got a Chuck. So we got Chaz, Charlie, Charles, and Fugger are available. Yeah. Let's see. Do it like they've got 3 mics in Shoresy. Hilarious show. And they're all Native American prison guards. And on the way back, Shoresy's yelling at the owner, going, she's like, it's like, well, that's he's like, thought they were prisoners. And she's like, well, that's racist of you. For what? You said they were coming from the prison. How was I supposed to know they were guards? And he's like, okay, well, how about you're Mike, you're Mikey, and you're Miguel. My name's Mike. Yeah, me too. And they all just talk in like monotones, and they just all want to be called the Mikes. And they're the 3 team goons. The 3 of them can just beat the shit out of just about anybody in the league. And everybody's just like, man, you gotta love the Mikes. The Mikes are stand-up boys. I love the Mikes. How can you not love the Mikes? And really, you had to love the Mikes. So I don't know. We'll go with a bunch of Chucks. Oh, wow, Sack. I just watched a tribute to David Ogden Stiers. I think we were talking about him the other night because not the Sure Thing, the one where he's skiing and has the French girlfriend and oh God, okay. I'm gonna blank on something once every night. There it is. Not anybody thrown in there. Oh, but David Ogden Stiers, yeah, he was the dad in that one. I just got done. I made it through all 6 seasons of The Dead Zone, And like the Dead Zone, like topped off about seasons 4 and 5 was really good. Then I think they got new writers. Then they just got new everything. Half the cast either was off or disappeared for most of the 6th season. And I don't think they were trying to convince me, like in the literature, hey, and the final season, it's like, yeah, but they didn't know it was the final season because they're still making like all but 1 or 2 of the episodes just, hey, new, interesting, fun things going on. And then a little ramp up at the end that didn't really wrap a whole lot up. So yeah, if you get through 6 seasons, it's going to finish with a show that didn't know it was getting done. But David Ogden Stiers was the priest who had, I think, married John Smith's mother. Dead Zone's the one where the guy can touch people and objects and see the past or the future and all that. Good series for the most part. Just it's not the first series to, go down eating poison before it's time and not get the finish it deserves. But David Ogden Stiers, like everything, very, very good in that. Let's see what else we got. I want to try and get to the bottom of this, and then we can start wrapping this up. And we'll finish up with 83 Husker stuff. Some of the scoring explosion. Let's see. One of TV's greatest characters ever, saying Winchester was good. I did not realize that. I just found the TV show ungodly cheesy once I saw the movie, because the movie is just so much darker and funnier. Because in the movie, Robert Duvall plays Major Burns, and he's not this chinless wimp jerk. He's a jerk because the guy's supposed to be a jerk, but he's just this lily-livered wimpy. I didn't like. Larry Linville, I guess, was a fine actor. If that's the way they wanted to play it, he succeeded. But it was just so much better a character than the movie MASH, because in that, it's Robert Duvall and his bald head and chiseled face, and he's a religious fanatic, and he's nuts. And they basically, and he shouldn't be back for the TV show because Hawkeye basically put him in the funny farm, put him in the loony bin, because he and Major Houlihan have the hots for each other, and it's just I'm not going to get yelled at for blowing it for you, because what was this movie, 1970 or something? So 50 years later, I'm not blowing the premise for you, but it's in the middle of the movie. But anyway, he's having sex with Hot Lips, and that's where she got hot lips, and she's like, "Kiss my hot lips, Frank." And yeah, then she's getting kind of naked and everything. It was a rated R MASH, and they're going, "Hot lips." You just see them look at each other like nickname, and then you see Radar you see this hand come under the tent with a microphone, and they put it under the bed, and then so they're just listening to him in the radio office have sex, and made all kinds of commentary, and like, well, what a loving man. And so he said, well, I just feel like we're greedy if we keep this whole thing to ourselves. Flips it on, whole camp's listening to her screaming, "Kiss my hot lips," and then they hear themselves screaming, and the next day, everybody's just driving them both nuts. Here's Trapper John picking on Hot Lips and says things to her that make her run for the door, and then Hawkeye, played by Donald Sutherland, sits across from Frank and just starts asking her stuff like, "So, a natural blonde, is she? You could help fill us in on that." And like, "Tell me, Frank, is she a moaner? And is it more of a?" And Frank's getting pissed. Shut your goddamn filthy mouth. And then the Colonel, oh God, it was Blaine Stevenson. The Colonel, not Potter, but the one before Potter, is sitting there talking with Radar. So what are they talking about? It's nice to see them getting along, and instead it's just a slow burn going on Frank Burns. And then I think he finally, oh God, I can't remember the last thing he said. And Frank flips out, jumps over the table, just starts trying to beat the shit out of him. And here's like Hawkeye underneath going, "I'm wearing glasses, for God's sake." And Trapper John's just sitting there chewing on a spoon going, "Watch out for your jewels, Hawkeye. Man's a sex maniac." And then you just see him getting manhandled by a couple of the MPs, and then there he is in a straitjacket being driven off as they play something like "We'll Meet Again." I don't know, and it's just fantastic show. But yes, give me movie Frank Burns anytime. Yeah, Pitt's Night, nailed it. Gilmore 2 was nothing but nostalgia bait, and it was glorious. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, for any of you that didn't get to see Rule's halftime speech. Monday was when we talked to Rule, so we didn't know about it yet, or maybe it was there, just hadn't seen it. It's Monday morning. But what he did tell us was, he said, we came into halftime, and I didn't like it. They drove all the way up the field, drove it about 50 yards, 46, 50 yards, and actually had a field goal, chance to kick a field goal and blow the shutout. And he goes, I was not, wait a minute, I think I wrote that down. Let's see, it's today. Oh, there were a lot of people today. Okay. What was the I didn't write it down exactly what it was like. He goes, I was losing in the locker room. I was pissed. And then the film came out of him, having a little halftime chat. It was kind of cool today. Somebody did ask Dylan how they took it when Rule blew up on him at halftime, and you're up 33-0. And he said, and he was like, no problem at all. It's like, man, we needed to hear that. I think one of the things he said is, here's the thing, man. He doesn't just tell us what we want to hear. He challenges us, and he was just challenging us, and we answered the call. And he says, I got to tell you, he's like, I love a coach. He goes, when a coach calls you out and calls you out, and you're up 33-0 at halftime, he goes, let me tell you, your team has something that's special then, because that guy wants you to succeed. And I can see it, because there used to be the coaches that the only time you heard from them was, when you screwed up, and you knew you were doing good because they just were ignoring you. And I'm not a big fan of that. But yes, I've seen, Rule get pissed at the team on film. They don't bring us in to watch that. But guess who was the same way? Bo Pelini, and most of the players loved him, because one of them put it, they said, yeah, you get to see him blow up on the sideline. And he goes, and he'll blow up in practice too. He goes, what guys don't get to see at practice, and it is when he's riding you because you've been getting it wrong. And he goes, and when you get it right, he blows up happy way hotter than he ever blows up mad. And that's the kind of coach I like. There's nothing wrong with telling the guys they're getting it right. I liked hearing that. It's like the Raiola reaction. He didn't look like he was really expecting that one, but his face was like, man, that's why we love him, is he will not settle for less than our best. And it was good. It was good stuff. I can see why that's one of your sophomore cap. I think he's your only sophomore captain. The rest of them are seniors. Let's see. Oh God. Nope, Fred, not reading that one. We're talking wigs and hair. I need to get to the bottom of these, so I'm not going to talk all the wigs and hair. I'm glad you're letting them fly tonight, though. That makes things really easy on this end. Yeah, the MASH. Hell yeah, said the MASH TV show had a lot of old Big Ten representation. Colonel Blake was always wearing that big orange eye. Frank Burns was Indiana. Radar was Iowa. I think Hawkeye was from, Massachusetts. I think he was from like a small, because I think he played small college in Massachusetts, and Trapper might have been from the Northeast too, because they played each other once in college on the movie. Football. Heck, the last big fun part of the movie was the big football game against the 407 7th MASH against some other Army unit, and oh yeah, they're doping me up. They're setting off the racists. The trick plays. Just an absolute blast. And the perfect thing about that game was, here's the sparsely attended game, but it's the middle of a war, so you really don't need to fill a stadium. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Blake taped the wrong leg, and Radar talked about Iowa's short pass. Good stuff. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Hawkeye was Crabapple Cove, Maine. Trapper was New York, New Jersey. There you go. It was Maine. Yeah. I knew they both had to be from the Northeast. Yeah, he always talked about Crabapple Cove on the TV show. All right, so here's a fun thing about the game to finish up here. So that 68-0 win was their largest margin of victory in a football game since the 68-0 beatdown of New Mexico State in 1982, my freshman year at Nebraska. And that was my first Husker football game I attended live. I think now I thought it was the first game. It was the second game of the year. They played Iowa in the first week, I think, at Iowa and beat them 42-7, beat the brakes off of those shitheads. But then we were there for 68-0. At the time, they set at the time NCAA record of 883 yards, and they ran for 677 yards, also a record, and threw for 206. And here's how well you knew they're trying to keep it down. There were no like lights out numbers that day from the offensive players. Turner Gill threw for 93 yards, I think, ran for like 30 or 40. Mike Rozier, only two guys over 100 yards on a 677-yard day. Rozier ran for 149. I think he was done after the first quarter, maybe early in the second. And Jeff Smith ran for 126, and no one else cracked 100. Now, the record now is set in 1989 against an SMU still being depleted by the death penalty. Houston, feeling no sympathy whatsoever, rolled up 1,021 yards. And I think it got broken a couple times after 1982. Oh, God, there once or twice I think somebody else got it, but Houston got it in 89, and no one's challenged that. But I feel like anytime you're mentioning 800-yard total offense games, you have to talk about, and I can't remember the year, but it was the Texas Tech Oklahoma game, Pat Mahomes versus Baker Mayfield. I think Mahomes threw for over 700 yards in that game. But each team finished with exactly 854 total yards. I think Baker threw for close to 600. If I go back on ESPN, they actually did like a one-on-one with those, like a podcast or something, where it was just one printed out, where those two are just talking about that game and talking about how they will never have more. The two of them, even Baker, I think Oklahoma won. Mahomes put up the bigger Tech numbers, but Oklahoma won, I don't know, probably 72-67 or something. But both of them said they never still, and I think this was about 5 years ago, have ever had more fun playing in a football game in their lives. 1,708 total yards split down the middle. I don't know how you could find anything better, but this was wild for me because, so 68-0, 44 years fly by, 68-0 again, both in the second game of the season, both in the home opener. I was at both of them. And that's just one of those things where, I'm 61 now. Life starts flying at a certain point, and it actually has to fly by for several years to where you go, 60th birthday, when was my 50th? What the fuck happened? And then this just kind of made me sit down and look at that block of time between freshman year of college and now. Those of you who know me realize that I've progressed very little, in the maturity phase of my life. I can't help you. If it hasn't happened now, it's probably not going to happen. But you just start thinking a lot. That game, I can remember it pretty well. Like, I remember, this was the first time I remember that you think that, the students I suspect are still well watched, but this was when the State Patrol just set a ring around the student section on the steps. If they weren't up to that back row, they're as close as they could get. They were watching your move. I got the Boda bag snatched from me more than once, but these were not evil men. They did not take my Boda bag. They just took me down under and made me squeeze all the contents out that were left. And then they took it away. Then they took it from me after I did that, and they squeezed out the last quarter full of the bag that I faked like I was dumping, but not their first rodeo. So yeah, they were nice about not ringing me up with an MIP, which almost would be kind of a badge of honor at Nebraska back then, even now maybe, because holy crap. What would you have? It would just make people go, what the hell did you do to get an MIP or a drunken public? Because half the place is staggering, trying to stay upright, trying to get to the stadium before kickoff. Okay, not half, but you know what I was saying. And if you were in if you walked through that Kansas City parking lot, I don't want to hear anything about Nebraska's inability to drink. My God, they were representing. But yeah, that was just a real quirky thing that I've been there for the bookend 68-0 games. Both were the biggest margin of victory. We put 70. We even in 83. So here's what made me think of the scoring explosion was, and this is playing some math games, but I said we left 16. Let's see. Yeah, I said on our 3 drives, we left 16 points on the board. Our drives went touchdown, lost fumble, turnover on downs, field goal, then 8 straight touchdowns. And we got stopped at the fumble on the 1, turnover on downs on the 1. Barney brings the punt back to the 20. We can't score. So those all should have been touchdowns. And if they are, we're looking at 84-0, not 68-0. And not only that, I didn't go to Minnesota, but that was the last time, and probably I still think a program record for points was 84, and done by the 83 scoring machine up at Minnesota. That was an exercise in trying to keep the score down. That team was so outmatched. Weren't the sharpest knives in the drawer either. There's one play I remember that we're on about our own 25, something like that, maybe a little farther, not much. And you can see on TV, there's Turner Gill looking around, and then he looks over to Irving Fryer, split wide to the left, and there's no one over there. There's not a deep safety. There's no intent. There's just no one over there. He's all alone, and he is literally going to Turner, and Turner just leaned down, just went, get set, don't move. Took the snap, because they did. They just stayed there. He didn't want to fuck around and give somebody a chance to run over. Boom, gets it. The offensive line never moves. He just throws it over to Fryer on the sideline, and Fryer takes his 4.3 speed untouched just up the field for an easy touchdown. And I was watching that in the fraternity with I was a sophomore then, but I was with the guy who was my pledge dad. We'd become good friends, and we're just watching that. And he had a nice spacious fraternity room, and we're just watching that on what then was an awesome color TV. Now would be a piece of shit. And just laughing our ass off. They're like, how much can they score? Craig Sundberg came in late at quarterback, and he's scrambling, and they must have everybody covered. So he takes off. He gets about 15 yards up the field. Here comes the guy to tackle him, and he stops and gives a fake pump, and the guy jumps like 3 feet in the air, and he runs by him. And it's like, what did you think he was going to do with it? It's not like he's just crossing the line of scrimmage. So yeah, that was a team that seemed to be just not bad physically, but really mentally not much in the game. but anyway, so there's a little 82-83 scoring machine talk. That really made for some thinking back. That was a stadium that maybe we stuck around about the end just to see if we could, but it was hot out that day. And I would say that place was 80% empty by the middle of the fourth quarter. They're like, it's 88 degrees or whatever. Let's get the hell out of this and get in a bar somewhere where it's air conditioned. But anyway, yeah, that's what I got. We got Houston Christian next weekend, much like Akron. Sorry, they talk about this team as a good running game and RPO. They beat Houston Christian, beat Arkansas Baptist. Sounds like a knife fight, and 69-0. Arkansas Baptist is an NAIA school, and Houston Christian's a 1AA or an FCS, whatever you want to call them. I think they lost to Eastern Kentucky last week, and I was told that somebody checked on what a spread would be if they played Akron, and it came back to them and said that Akron would be -30. They'd be favored by 13 against Houston Christian. So anyway, party it up. I think we're supposed to have another nice weekend. I didn't see it was going up. I guess I haven't looked that far yet. See, now, if my rotten son, Mustang number was in here tonight, he would have been able to give you a forecast, the little meteorologist. I would have demanded it of him, But my daughter does volleyball, my son weather. That's it. You owe us this. You owe me this. Okay, with the final rant done, let's see what we got here as we head on out. We're talking about fake boot camps and stuff. Oh God, many wanted to join the army because of the match. Yeah, I guess the blood looked a little too red paintish in MASH too. All the blood of that era. See, I don't remember. Trapper died after he left. Huh. I watched that. I thought, there's people who, just say I couldn't be more wrong. I just thought that final episode was just a bore. I know. I guess you got to have them leave. And if they killed Trapper for a oh my god moment, it just, I was snoozing. It was like, how long can these people spend saying goodbye with nothing happening? Goodbye, good night, Mash. Good night, farewell, so long, or farewell, so long, goodbye. Wasn't for me. But like I said, by then I'd seen the movie, and the TV show just didn't seem to have too many teeth to it after that. Or Colonel Potter was full blown on Mash right here. I'm running a little long, so otherwise I'd be happy to have a Colonel Potter versus Colonel Blake. I like both the Colonels, actually. I didn't mind either of the Colonels. Colonel Blake, because like the Colonel Blake in the movie was he was the complete airhead, and that's where Radar, the only one who was in the movie, Gary Burghoff, and the TV show, he's like completing all his sentences for him, and basically it was so bad there where he's just basically giving himself his own orders all the time. Might be Radar ordering a great knee high. And that's not knee high, like your knee on your leg. It's NEHI knee high, isn't it? Sacrilege. Let's see. People are talking about the Army playing sports, but we didn't show asthma till after. My son ended up with, this was 70s child, talking about no asthma till after. My son, just doing cross country, got they call it like sports asthma or athlete asthma, and he got it bad his senior year, and like his times just slunk, and it only hit him in cross country. He played hockey. I don't think he ever had to hit the puffer in hockey. But yeah, basically no problems in hockey. But for some reason, out of the blue, senior year, he just started seizing up when he was running cross country, and he ran it for 4 years. So yeah, that is weird. Oh, going to Rays. I see Rays wings for the games. Jerry, Nick, I do enjoy Rays wings. I remember the old Rays wings at night. I think it was like 96th and Q, around there. Just wonderful. Missed it. Best slaw ever. The one there, the Rays now maybe the same people and everything, but it wasn't the same slaw. I don't know if they got the slaw, but I still might get me some Rays wings every now and then. Says Bears QB Tyson Badgett played at Houston Christian. I heard of him. The final episode, no more nostalgia bait, no shit. But yeah, just I don't mind the nostalgia, but yeah, come on, man, swing for the fences. All right, Fred had asthma in 5th grade, wrestled through junior high, and then it went away wild. Yeah, I actually had allergies, and then those I ended up getting like the nasal spray when it's one now that's been over the counter forever, but I got it prescription, just took it less and less over a couple of years, and my allergies went away. So now that we've officially been old people, does anybody want to talk about that hip that won't quit bothering them, or that ankle? My God, this rash on my shoulder, it just won't go away. What will I do? All right. Yeah, but I'm done. We'll be back next Tuesday. Like I said, last week, 7 o'clock, 45 minutes. That was a one-off. We should be good to go the rest of the year. You guys have a wonderful week. Wave up at the press box if you're there Saturday. I won't see you, but I'll wave back intermittently just in case. And I'm not just saying that, and you've got no way of checking on it, so take my word. All right. And before we say our final Go Big Reds, we go to 70s child who actually had hip surgery in 2023. My aunt got one of the first replacement hips in the 70s. She was my bionic woman. It gave her no powers except the power to drink and get pissed more, and that thing got sore. All right. Fred's taking us out. Later, Andy, and everyone, have a good one. I love you guys. Thanks for showing up. Keep it coming in the comments. I love just roll. I'll always come in with stuff to say, but man, if we roll with the comments, I'll squeeze in what I have to. This is your guys' show. Go Big Red, and we will see you next Tuesday. Good night, all.